So I've hit a few heavy hitters on the horror franchise list, but now it's time to give a little bit of love to a little more obscure entry, like the Ghoulies films, the first of which was filmed right behind me. I think everyone is familiar with the famous video box cover of the little green guy coming out of the toilet, but how many people can claim to have seen all four films, or understand how they fit together, if at all?
So the first Ghoulies film came out in 1984, and there's really no indication of a time frame of the film itself, so we're going to do what we always do and assume that it takes place in the year of its release, also 1984. The opening of the film takes place in the past as the amazing Jack Nance saves a little baby from his warlock father, who then quickly kills the baby mama. The movie then bounces approximately 21 to 25 years ahead as Jonathan learns that he's inherited his old man's huge, dilapidated mansion. We can assume the time frame based on the fact that Jonathan is supposed to still be in school, although it's not said whether it's undergrad or grad school, and the fact that all the characters are old enough to buy lots of alcohol. The actual ages of the actors in the film range from 20 to 35. They have a party with their school friends, and Olivia Benson shows up, which made me immediately wish that Ice-T would be with her, trying to solve a sexual assault. They find a magic book and try a magic spell because that always goes well. This conjures up one of the titular ghoulies, unbeknownst to the group. This one is known as the Rat Ghoulie. And anyway, Jonathan becomes more obsessed with the book and the occult, becoming nastier as he does, and he tries another spell, bringing forth more ghoulies. This one's a kind of fish ghoulie, this one's kind of a cat, and finally, a bat-like one. His new hobby causes some friction with his lady friend, but he's really into this magic stuff now and conjures forth a pair of little people with excellent taste in skull caps. He has another party, inviting all of his friends and their fashionable eyewear, which obviously prevents them from seeing the ghoulies in their food. So, one big spell later, Jonathan resurrects his dead father from his handy backyard grave site, and then the mayhem begins. Mark and Donna become special victims as they get eaten by fish ghoulies because there's suddenly more than one of them now, which is important later on. Dick falls for the old warlock man disguised as MILF Lady Trick and gets tongue strangled. While Mr. Scott Thompson gets clubbed by the little demons, Eddie takes a cat ghoulie to the face, and Robin gets attacked by this thing. You know, the thing that gave me nightmares for most of my youth.
Ugh.
It all comes to a head with a magic battle between father and son. The little people betray the warlock, and Deus Ex Nance winds things up with a nice little light show that could have only come from the 80s, and they both vanish. On a happy note, it turns out that all of Jonathan's friends have come back to life, although the little demons are left behind, while the ghoulies have stowed away with them in their car. So, Ghoulies made quite a bit of money, so of course a sequel was made. It took 4 years, and Ghoulies 2 got its release in 1988. It features no ties to the original film except for the Ghoulies themselves. The whole black magic element was dropped entirely, with the exception of the appearance of several cult-like individuals in the beginning. This good-intentioned guy apparently stole the cult's little creatures with the intention of killing them, but the bat-looking ghoulie finally gets to do something except sit in a tree and knocks him into a convenient and dangerously wide-open vat of solvent. And here's where we get our first look at the second film's new and improved puppets, and they look great. They've even added a new little guy in the Toad Ghoulie. Also, we get our first shot of the creatures walking without a hand in their butts. The little guys take refuge in a carnival haunted house, quickly becoming the carnival's top attraction. They kill off Bill Butler, give each other high fives, and then kill off Royal Dano of Killer Clown fame. Well, I mean, he's in tons and tons of other things, but I just really love Killer Clowns. This pisses off his nephew and the always brilliant Phil Fondacaro as Sir Nigel, who team up to stop the killer puppets. A few other carnies get involved, but stop-motion ghoulies give them the slip. There's some Gremlin-style hijinks at the carnival leading up to that infamous toilet scene that the original film promised on the poster but yet never delivered on. Our heroes attempt to fight magic with magic and cast a spell that causes a giant monster ghoulie to appear. It eats the little guys but then comes after our heroes because it thinks that Sir Nigel is one of the ghoulies because it's rather insensitive towards little people because it's a dick. They feed it a bomb and it blows up pretty good, ending things on a happy note, although the toilet guy lives on. Okay, so here's where things shift. 3 years later, we get Ghoulies Go to College, and the prologue says it takes place 21 years ago, and we're immediately reintroduced to the Ghoulies, or more specifically, Fish Guy, Cat Guy, and Rat Guy. Toad Guy and Bat Guy are nowhere to be seen, and the Ghoulies suddenly talk. Anyway, a comic book banishes them into a toilet, so you can kind of see where this movie's headed. We flash ahead to the present day, and if we assume that that makes it 1991, that makes the prologue set in 1970. Now, since that would make the Ghoulies banished in a toilet during the events of the previous 2 movies, and the first movie established that there can be more than one of each type of ghoulie, followed by the fact that we clearly saw the little guys eaten to death in the last movie, we can safely assume that it's most likely different ghoulies in each film. So we're at a college attended by Jason Voorhees, Bruce Lee, and Shaggy, and they're all really into this prank thing, which drives Professor Ragnar crazy. The good professor reads the cursed comic book out loud, which frees the ghoulie who not only talk, but spout hilarious jokes in the style of the Three Stooges. Fish Ghoulie is basically the Moe, Rat Ghoulie acts like Larry, and the Cat Ghoulie is Curly of the group. They start to kill off frat boys by flushing them. They put on clothes and burp and fart, really. It's kind of jarring how little this movie is like the previous two. There's some more murder and the inevitable panty raid with an appearance by the girl that killed Joey in Nightmare 4. There's some sort of sex scene with a dustbuster, and then our heroes discover the professor is behind it all. The ghoulies turn on him, but there's some sort of catch where if they kill him, he absorbs their powers, so he turns into this thing, I guess.
I hope you guys appreciate what I do for you.
The main frat guy flushes the magic comic book, which destroys Kevin McCarthy and his career, and everyone's happy, and there's nothing homoerotic in this scene at all. Like, not at all. Obligatory cliffhanger shot, and we're done. Another 3 years pass, and we get Ghoulies 4, and things get going right away. A tastefully clad young lady conjures up a demon guy, but then screws up the spell, so he vanishes. In his place, 2 ghoulies appear. Come on. These are the Ghoulies. You don't recognize them from the previous movie? Turns out that they didn't have enough money for the ghoulie puppets in this one, so they used little people in cheap masks instead. How expensive were those damn puppets anyway? We get a crazy shootout in a convenience store with a robber and a police officer, and pretty quickly realize the police officer is Jonathan Graves from the first movie, because this one is an actual sequel with actual continuity, just no ghoulie puppets, which, come on, is what we really care about anyway. If we're sticking to the real-time difference between films, we're looking at 10 years between the first one and this one, and in that time, Jonathan became a police officer, although he still wears a magic charm around his neck. While the leather lady hunts for an amulet, Jonathan drinks a lot and has flashbacks to the first movie, and his girlfriend is apparently a prostitute. I guess. Anyway, the film all kind of comes down to a final confrontation with Jonathan switching with his evil hell self and a portal to hell, which people just kind of walk backwards into. The ghoulies jump in willingly, and Jonathan kisses his old girlfriend, like right in front of his current girlfriend, who I guess then hooks up with his partner. I don't know. We leave off with the ghoulies still on Earth, finding the amulet and promising Ghoulies 4 Part 2, which we mercifully never saw.
So there you have it. Kind of like the Leprechaun movies, you can either choose to assume that there are 4 separate movies with different characters in each one, or that they each take place in a different universe and they're the same characters, whichever. The only 2 that are connected are the first and the fourth, and I kind of like that they have a little bit of continuity, even though the fourth one is pretty terrible. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think below. Please subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share the videos and enjoy it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another great video. Thanks a lot.